My talk is titled Building Diverse Blockchain Communities for a Decentralized Future. I also call it the buzzword talk. It's sort of packed with them. So let's just get this next slide up. Come on, people. There you go. So why this talk? Also, why women? I'm interested in women. I happen to be a woman. But that's not the only lens that you could use. It's just the one that I'm using for this particular talk. So we all sort of live at a nexus of our entwined identities, right? So you can think of yourself as your nationality, you can think of yourself as your gender, you can think of yourself as maybe you're the first person in your family to work in tech, maybe that's a piece of your identity. So, you know, always be flexible when you're thinking about these things. Right now, we happen to be talking about women. And when I first started as community manager at Storage, which is a decentralized cloud objects storage company, I immediately started Googling it. I had no knowledge or interest. We have a crypto utility token. I never had any interest in crypto until they told me that my signing bonus was in crypto, and suddenly I was fascinated by the idea. So I started Googling, and then as soon as I started Googling, something really interesting happened, which is all of my pre-rolls changed on YouTube. All of my ads changed as I went around the internet, and I started getting some really unexpected invites for Facebook groups with very odd names. And a lot of them were very gendered. Like they were like, basically like, I don't know, women are awful brotherhood. And I'm like, okay, this wasn't happening until I started Googling crypto and blockchain, so what's up? So here is the massive vision for the future that we hear over and over. New communities are forming around blockchain and decentralization technologies. We need to maximize this. It's going to change the future. It's going to usher stuff. There's going to be eras, right? So realistically, if we want an era that's any good, we need to include everybody, and that means women as well. So we have this terminology of open source, blockchain, decentralization, and crypto. And what happens when you begin to look into it is that it's actually very hard to talk about these things as discrete entities. And that's partially because it's partially a meta thing because some of them are very intertwined, but it's also a vocabulary thing. They tend to be conflated. So this idea that it's going to usher in this new era means that you would expect that women would be at the forefront, like it's going to happen automatically because this is this new thing that's like rocking the world. Well, actually, what happens is that you'd be wrong if you assume that women are less likely to be at the forefront at a blockchain company, and compared to the rest of tech, you're looking at 17.7%. It's half of that. So it's not half of the working industry, the workforce, you know what I mean. It's half of the tech industry, so it's a subset. And this is an outdated piece of data, but it's from about 3 years back, I think. But the numbers have not come up significantly since then. That's just what I have figures for. So these types of technologies, anything open source, the community is really pivotal, right? Because contributions are like this hotbed of activity. And so what the tech is being formed by communities. And my question is, what happens if we center women in that conversation? And that doesn't mean that we're necessarily centering women in the real world. I'm just saying, what if you took a step back, tilted your head to the side, and was like, well, you know, what if? What if we looked at it through this lens? Like, what if we sort of came at it from a different angle? Is there anything there? I would say yes. I think that the skills and history and perspective of women really bring something interesting to the table. And the more interesting perspectives you have on things, the more likely you are for that to spark an interesting idea. So you'll get the benefit of diverse skills and viewpoints. And so what's the situation? We have binders full of whom is the question that I ask. So one thing about my community that I inherited is about 18,000 people. I don't know who they are. People in decentralization, blockchain, and to a lesser degree, just open source communities in general aren't necessarily giving you their information, and you don't really know who you're dealing with. But that doesn't really prevent it from being gendered. So even though you don't know who anybody is on the internet, somehow people don't have a problem saying, oh, this guy in the forum posted a ticket, or he's having a problem. So it feels very gendered even when you don't know. Most communities are imagined as male. So that brings with it a certain type of rhetoric and a certain type of conversation style. And is that conversation style one that women are going to feel that they can enter and freely contribute to? Or is it going to be a conversation style that makes them feel a little bit hesitant? If you don't feel comfortable at the beginning, you're not going to contribute. And if you feel like your first thing that you make and the first thing that you show has to be perfect or you're going to be derided, you're not going to do it. And getting people to the first piece of contribution, whoops, 1 minute, is, is really important. Because statistics show that if people are not contributing something right away, they're not talking right away, they will drift out, and you're going to lose that perspective, and you're not going to get that input that I, again, think makes the, it really makes the whole richer, and it makes it more interesting, it makes conversations more exciting and more vital. So we have, let's see, 28 seconds left. I'm just going to close with Conways Law. And Conways Law, which probably a lot of you have heard of already, as a takeaway, is just that any organization designing a system is going to produce a design that has a structure that mirrors and mimics the environment that it was created in. So the types of conversation and the type of inclusiveness that you have is going to produce that